Another preliminary checklist. I just turned this off. Okay, Jason.
恭敬大德圣听，为此法会，及一切众生，请转妙法文，教导我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye olahuri sanmiao sanputoshi.
Namo saranto suche doye 阿拉哈迪三藐三菩提心，
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Together, supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in a billion eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome to our Sutra lecture tonight. It is indeed Saturday, December 2nd, here in Berkeley, California. We're about to begin our weekly Avatamsaka Sutra lecture. We're here on the chapter called the 10 Stages, the 10 Grounds chapter. And we're going to begin, as we usually do, by invoking spiritual presence. We chant the name of the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of the Avatamsaka Assembly, which we find right here. So please join me. Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yan Ji 华严海会佛菩萨，南无大方。华严经，华严海会佛菩萨，南无大方广佛华严经。 华严海会佛菩萨，南无大方广佛严经。华严海会佛菩萨，南大方广佛华严经。 华严海会佛菩萨，南大方广佛华严经。华严海会佛菩萨，南大方广佛华严经。 华严海会佛菩萨。Jerry, I'm concerned for the battery life. You want about 那个关掉哈？Okay. So, page 22 and 23 in our sutra lecture, sutra text. Here we go. Third paragraph. From the top on both sides, both the Chinese and the English. Okay, here we go. I'll give you a line, you give it back. 佛子慈菩萨，复其智明，教化众生。所谓善知众生，深识别，善分别，众生身，善观察。 所生处，随其所应，而未现身，教化成熟。Okay, over to the right now. Let's read together. Ready? Disciples of the Buddha, this Bodhisattva further brings up the light of wisdom to teach living beings. That is to say, he is skillful at knowing the differences among the bodies of sentient beings. He is skillful at distinguishing among their bodies. He is skillful at contemplating their birthplaces. He appears to them as is appropriate to teach them and bring them to maturity. Okay. Here we go. We're launching into the 8th ground of 10 grounds, sometimes called 10 stages, the Dashabhumi chapter, the Flower Garland Sutra, sutra that describes the Bodhisattva path in great detail. And we're looking at what a bodhisattva at this level of accomplishment can do in order to teach beings. It's a handbook. This is a text manual, a how-to for people who want to practice the bodhisattva path. And at this level, this is an advanced level. This is way out there. This is beyond basic mindfulness, right? This is a bodhisattva who is now already past the limitations of ego. Desire is in the rearview mirror. Self, long gone. And now he or she exists in a level, in a realm that's pretty hard to imagine, because what the sutra tonight is describing is the ability to call what's called funshan, can divide up his body as he desires. I'll use the he pronoun, could be she. Able to do that at will in order to teach. Now, you go, hold the presses, stop. What? He can do that? Yes, he can. This is part of the Mahayana tradition, and it appears in a variety of places. For example, we hear about the Buddha's 3 bodies, the threefold bodies of the Buddha, right? We hear about the Dharma body, the reward body, and then the what's called sometimes the response body, sometimes division body, sometimes transformation body, all these different names for an amazing ability that the sutra presents to us just as a matter of fact. This is not conjecture, it's not theory, it's not fantasy, right? It's not imagination. This is said to be hardwired in you and in me. Yet it's an ability that we don't hear about, because who has been this capital G good before? How do you get to this level? Not through trickery, not through appointment, not through status, but through goodness. This bodhisattva, this person, human being, has become the most virtuous person around. And it's not because the Buddha likes him better if he's good, or he gets points from any system because he's good. It's because our human nature, when our virtue, when our kindness is developed to this point, starts to function. These are the functions of human nature developed to its highest expression. So, what do we have as a model? Now, I'm already digressing. I should get back to the text. But who do we have in our horizon? Where I used to teach at the seminary, they would say your spiritual horizon. Who in our spiritual horizon has this level of function? Well, think of Jesus of Nazareth. There's a figure known, should be familiar in our culture. Jesus was said to do miracles, right? There's a lot of them mentioned in the Bible. And those miracles arose, why? Well, it's not purely specified because he's the Son of God, yes, but it was because of his goodness, his virtue, his kindness, his generosity, his courage to stand up for people who were downtrodden, who were abused and misused. Think the poor people of Nazareth and of both genders, outcasts, people who were not included in tax cuts by the overseers of Rome, the Pharaoh and his minions, right? That's another political system, we won't go there, but Jesus stood up for them and spoke on their behalf and ministered to them with kindness. And as a result, we just kind of nod and say, yes, miracles are possible. Well, another human being, not with a name and a face, we don't know the name or the appearance of this bodhisattva we're talking about, but the sutra gives it to us. Let's just look at the story according to its own lights, right? It says, this bodhisattva, generic individual, can do these things not because he or she has any other distinction, no other extraordinary qualities except he cultivates the Dharma. He, to change the language, he boots up this program from his hard drive and it starts to function in this way. But the criteria, the computer he's using is a goodness computer. That's how he is rated on a scale of measurement, right? He's virtuous. That's the word, gong de ju, right? The Buddha is gone to the end of this road, and he is said to be wan de bei, replete with every one of the possible virtues, i.e. qualities, wholesome qualities of a human nature. There you go. So, good, capital G, good, results in this kind of function. Interesting. Who in our horizon of heroes, in our sky, as we look up to people, who in popular culture is famous for being good? We don't celebrate goodness. We pay attention to, the media pays attention to other human qualities, such as meanness and outrageous people who are serial killers. They're lethally destructive. That's who we seem to investigate, find out about where they went wrong as children, But who looks at and goes in depth about people's goodness? Well, I can think of one who spent 8 years leading the country, and wrote a book with hope figured in the title. We're getting warm, right? That's the kind of qualities, wholesome human qualities. Yes, we can, he said. All right. Disciples of the Buddha, the Bodhisattva brings up the light of wisdom to teach living beings. He is a teacher. And what is he teaching? It's one lesson. It's letting go of affliction, going free from troubles. That's the lesson. He wants to teach us how to escape from the blues, from misery, to transform what holds us back, our obstacles. Teaches us to let go of things we cling to. That's the lesson. And that's hard. If he was a stock market analyst and advised you on your portfolio so that you could get rich, that's hard, but certainly you could do it, right? If he's teaching us how to let go of things we cling to, wow. That's harder yet. Okay, he brings up the light of wisdom to teach living beings. That's where he sees how to do it, how to teach me, how to teach you, how to teach him and her. That is to say, okay, when we see this word so wei, we know we're going to get examples. What this means is, followed by, he is skillful at knowing the differences among the bodies of sentient beings. Oh boy. The sutra is going to tell us about bodies. The last couple lectures we've been hearing about worlds, right? Last week we spent a lot of time talking about realms, desire, form, and formless realms. And we toured through the heavens last week and talked about those kind of bodies. And the Bodhisattva is very clear about what it takes to get reborn as a god. That's what we talked about. How do you get reborn as a god last week? Okay, now it's throwing it out wider still. Not just the devas in the heavens, but it says, this Bodhisattva is good at knowing the differences among the bodies of sentient beings. He's paying attention to this, the outer form. all the different kinds. He's skillful at, meaning clear and good, at distinguishing among their bodies. That's the focus tonight. He's skillful at contemplating birthplaces, and then, once he knows their bodies and their birthplaces, this bodhisattva can appear to them as is appropriate to teach them and bring them to maturity. There you go. That's the description of our sutra's motive. That's our bodhisattva's motive, is to teach living beings and bring them to maturity. What are the Chinese words here? It's 随其所应而为现身教化成熟. There's a bunch of verbs here. 随其所应, as is appropriate. Just the way he ought to do it, it says, 为现身, appears, makes a body appear to them, 教化, teach, change, 成熟, ripen. 教化成熟, that's 4 verbs, basically. 4 words that have to do with bringing people to maturity. What kind of maturity is it talking about? When we think of that, we think of tomato plants, right? What do you mature? You ripen roses, okay, chrysanthemums. You ripen what? Avocados on your windowsill. You get the seed and split it open and put it with toothpicks in the jar half full of water, and you see that stalk come out, and then you got an avocado you can put in the ground and plant. What do you ripen? Are you a gardener? Do you see things ripen? Maybe you breed puppies. Yeah, some of us are gardeners here. Earthworms, right? Yeah, and others are kittens or hamsters. When I was a kid growing up, hamsters were the deal. Everybody wanted to raise hamsters. And I don't think hamsters are that popular anymore, right? What do you have? Chia pets? Anybody raise a chia pet? You push the seeds in that terracotta pot and then dampen them, and out comes this green coat. What do you grow? You grow anything? Kids, right? You grow kids if you're a mom or dad. Bring them to maturity. They kind of grow by themselves, but getting old does not equate to maturity. They can be old but immature, right? So you have like 40-year-old adolescents and people whose bodies age but their spirits are still stuck in childhood. So the Bodhisattva wants to mature us, bring us to maturity, jiaohua, and he teaches us to bring us to maturity. What would that be? I can think of one pretty quickly. How do you solve frustrations? Discomfort. If, when we get frustrated, we lash out with the idea to destroy, that's immature, right? If in order to express my rage, I have to remove you from the planet, I have to kill you because I'm frustrated, because I'm upset, because I'm angry, or can't find a way out of my problems, that's immature. That's not a mature way. If in order for me to live fully, I have to destroy you, suppose you were the victim. Of course, you would choose to live. How come, if you're the perpetrator, you can't make sense of other people's wish to live? So, seems to be, hasn't thought it through, right? That's not, we say, fair, it's not righteous, it's not good, it's not wholesome, it's not skillful. All those things you could say, that's immature, right? What would maturity be? Maturity would be to say, I got a problem. I need help. I need to talk to somebody and figure this out, or even, not necessarily reaching out to others, on my own. Is this the right thing to do? Or is this a wrong thing to do? Knowledge of right and wrong would seem to be primary, basic for somebody who wants to be mature. Okay, so, 教化成熟, bring you to maturity. Another way to say it would be that in our culture here, where we live, in North America, men haven't grown up yet. Name me a second species that survives on the planet that destroys itself without reason. Can't name a second one. Name me another one. I go to Australia where I live in the bush and watch animals. Haven't seen a single species that, well, no, there are some. Spiders. Spiders are cannibals. The big ones eat the little ones. I've seen it. But spiders are, relatively savage. They're not evolved as a species. Well, spiders have tremendous talents. They're orb weavers that make these incredible webs. But their choice of food is indiscriminate. And interestingly enough, of all there are spiders in Australia as big as my hand today. You're going to see some tonight. We're going to do a slideshow tonight. But the boss spider, the one who winds up killing all the others, is daddy longlegs. The common daddy longlegs that might be in your garage is the baddest spider, the most successful predator, because it's above the others. Another story. But we're saying, how come humanity, of all the different living beings' bodies, how come our male line has, particularly in our North American culture, has hit upon this method of expressing frustration, which is destroying itself, or even destroying our young? Name me another species that kills its own young and survives. Right? We're doing that these days. We're killing babies. And I don't want to go further because it makes, just even to bring it up, causes grief. There may be folks listening who are close to that experience. And the parent that has lost its child to random violence is a broken-hearted soul. So maturity there, talking about that, bringing to maturity. I've got another one. How about people that value money over everything else? And the accumulation of money becomes a value to itself, as opposed to other experiences. I would consider that immature. Where do we meet it? Let's boil it right down to where it meets the road, where the sandals hit the pavement, right? Where the rubber meets the road. In universities around the world, the liberal arts are vanishing. The first classes to disappear when an Department of Education starts to feel the pinch, budget cuts, the first classes that disappear are classes that enhance one's feeling of being alive. That is to say, the arts and sports. The arts celebrate the ear, the eye, the body, sculpture, music, painting, drawing, now video making. Those are the ones that get axed first in favor of classes that are said to provide you a living when you graduate. A degree that you can make a living with, earn money by that degree. Okay, I understand that we all need to live, but if the value is in salary, not in quality of experience, that's not mature. How many people graduate with a degree that they feel, even professional degrees nowadays, lawyers, architects, doctors, who graduate and then within a few years say, I'm going to go be a outdoors, a mountain encounter guide and let my degree go, because the path towards financial success doesn't touch my soul, doesn't keep me alive. I would much rather be a barista who has his weekends free to go sailing than be on the ladder towards success in my firm, right? There's lots and lots and lots of lawyers who quit and go to work for not-for-profits because there's no joy in the rat race, right? So this is not news. I'm a college professor as well as being a Buddhist monk. And I provide a class in Buddhist philosophy for third-year college undergraduates. And the kids who come through are deeply involved in that question, which is, why do I have to choose my heart or my pocketbook? Isn't there a way to combine the two? Are they exclusive? Why am I being told that I have to pick classes that will provide me a sale that I can sell myself in, when the people who have done that ahead of me are miserable and very few succeed? Because why? Those jobs aren't there, but there is a reigning mythology that education is there to put money in your pocket. Master Hua, our teacher, said what? He said, education has failed our children because it values Ming and Li, fame, or reputation, and benefit. It doesn't value Ming, Li, understanding principle. He said, fundamentally, education is to help us, when we graduate, understand our lives and the world around us. That's called liberal arts. That's called the humanities. Why isn't the study of humanity, when our kids are in school and ready, the study of people and the world and the things we do? His story, her story, history, right? Instead, we graduate kids who have no sense of connection to the world that's gone beyond them, gone before them at all. And yet, I have a computer science, I'm a CS, so I can go out and indenture myself to Google, and work 60-hour weeks and have a nervous breakdown before I'm 30. Congratulations, your education failed you. So anyway, this is all, here I am preaching about a common thing that's talked about, usually called maturity. How come we haven't figured that out? So, Dharma Realm Buddhist University, our fledgling program, after being in existence for 41 years, I became a monk the year that Dharma Realm Buddhist University was launched. And Dharma Realm Buddhist University is turning educators on. They're excited about our program because we are unapologetic about teaching people to understand their lives and the world around them. Humanities. We emphasize the humanities. Maybe later we could have a laboratory science degree. That would be good, but it would be, we do teach about the history of science. Why one would ask those questions. What is the world? How is it made? What does it weigh? How does it reverberate, right? The questions that science asks. Ti, xiang, yung. What's it made of? What does it look like? How does it function? The history of that kind of inquiry, that's the history of humanity. That's taught. That's an important questions to ask. But what can you do with that degree, they say? Understand myself and not commit suicide or kill somebody else when I'm frustrated. That's what I can do with that degree. Because why? I'm not squeezed into a box that I can't find my way out of. I understand that the world is as broad as my mind. That's the value of a humanities education. My goodness. So this seems to be, kind of fundamental, and yet, what did we have test-based education that I better stop there. No child left behind. Hallelujah. So the educators beat their heads against the administration, who gets pressured by the parents who want their kids to come out with something they can earn money, with a degree that will turn $1. And right in that friction between worldviews is where Dharma Buddhist University is raising important questions and opening big doors. Thanks to our teacher, who was a lifelong educator, and who said the purpose of being alive is to activate your inherent wisdom. We all have wisdom, and when it's brought to light, like our Bodhisattva here in the sutra tonight, suddenly the world is seen as principles that are inherent to us, that are not the possession of any caste or religion or prophet, but they're universally available to anybody who wants to investigate them. And the study and practice of those principles is called cultivating the Dharma. It's pretty much an English word by now, meaning the collection of those principles and the gradual awakening to them. Our Bodhisattva has now made his life the polishing, the uncovering with a shovel, digging up of those principles in his own nature, her own nature. And then, I use the word polish, through progressive meditation and the application of those virtues that we mentioned earlier, those principles start to function, and he can now share them with others, right? They're functioning in his own nature, and now he's teaching others. How? By example. Why does he appear in front of them in a body? Because this is not the way to teach. You all better understand this. It's like, when he does it, it works, and others go, how'd you do that? You don't seem to be all upset. Well, let's see, let's do it together. How do you do it? You know, and, oh, well, I do it. How did that work? Not very well. Oh, maybe this way, you know. And then once the living being who needs to learn this can accomplish it, he looks around, where'd that guy go? Oh, he was just here a minute ago. Huh, okay. Bodhisattva strikes again, you know. My goodness, as was appropriate, he taught skillfully. He's good at distinguishing bodies, contemplating birthplaces, appearing as is appropriate to teach them and bring them to maturity. Who is really mature? A Buddha. Who is maturing? A Bodhisattva. So, who's a Bodhisattva? Who's a Buddha? It's a person who did this work until they were, quote, ripe. And once they were ripe, they shared the fruit with anybody who would care to listen. So, what's next? We're on 22, next paragraph. 此菩萨于一三千大千世界，随众生身信界差别，以智光明普现受生，如是若二若三乃至百千，乃至不可说三千大千世界，随众生身信界差别，普于其中，示现受生。Okay. Tongue twisters. 示现受生. This bodhisattva adapts himself to the differences in bodies, faith, and understanding on the part of its sentient beings anywhere, throughout a threefold large thousand-world universe. Using the light of his wisdom, he appears and is reborn everywhere within it. He does the same thing, no matter whether it's 1, 2, 3, up to 1,000, 100, or 1,000, 3,000, threefold, large, thousand-world universe. Whoa. He may continue in that way until he appears in an ineffable number of universes. He adapts himself to the differences in their bodies, faith, and understandings, and appears to be reborn everywhere within those universes. Okay, our number, we lost control of that number. Let's see here. How do we guess? 100,000, 3,000, threefold, large, thousand. No, that's too many threes and thousands there. I need to work on that one. Let's try that again. It's 若二若三乃至百千乃至不可说三千大千世界. All right. That's a number that it's a cosmic number, meaning in the cosmos, it's part of a cosmology, because it's talking about world systems. We look through our telescopes, including such things as NASA's Hubble Telescope, which something from the Earth looks like an angle. They talk about it's a degree angle that's that tiny, and you have to use from our vision, it's just maybe a pencil tip would cover that edge of the sky. Hubble Telescope, which is a telescope located in space, it's not on the planet, goes out and it takes that tiny, tiny little angle, maybe 1/4 of a degree, and it expands it into a universe. And we find that's where they think the Big Bang actually is a place from Earth is so tiny, it's that. And they expand that and bring the pictures back, and we look at it, and it's this world seemingly infinite, containing galaxies. Okay, cosmos. We're talking big numbers of space and everything contained in it. It's, when we look at it from the Earth, it just seems so far away, and like how could something that tiny contain something that Hubble shows us is almost, we would use the word infinite, in breadth and space? It does. It does. And the Buddha described this area as San Qian Da Qian Shijie. So we have a world, a Shijie. What's a world? This is the Buddha's cosmology, right? We'll take a trip through the Buddha's description. A world contains a sun, a moon, Mount Sumeru, which is the polar mountain. Now, is this the real? How come we can't see it if this is the real world? All spiritual writers of the cosmos, including the Greeks and the Hindus, talked about a polar mountain. Pole meaning the thing that, kind of the anchor mountain. They had different names for it, Mount Olympus, but it's in the center and the world revolves around it. The Buddha said Mount Sumeru. Sumeru means miao, gao, wonderfully tall, marvelous and tall, big tall mountain. The big rock candy mountain, the cops have wooden legs, the bulldogs have rubber teeth, and the hens lay soft-boiled eggs. That's the big rock candy mountain. You all remember that one, right? So, what else? The sun and the moon. Then there are 4 continents around the edges. There's the north, south, east, west, and they all have names. We, according to the Buddha, are currently in the eastern continent called Jambudvipa. All right. There is an ocean of fragrant water that surrounds the 4 continents, and then there are mountains that surround this world made of iron. Tietweishan. There's a world. Okay? Mount Sumeru is an inverted triangle. It's interesting. It's wider at the top than it is in the bottom. How does that stand up? I don't know. But that's the way the Buddha described it. And then these worlds further are stacked up in layers. And we are on the 21st layer of the flower treasury world system, right? So, okay, that's a world. So you take 1,000 of those worlds, like ours, and you have a 1,000 world system. Those 1,000 world systems come in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. So then you have a Da Qian Shijie, a large 1,000 world system. You take that and you multiply it through the past, the present, and the future, because these worlds are not static. They're fluid. They're based on the karma of the beings in them. And karma just means action, behavior. So the Buddha went on to say that these worlds are each different. Some are blissful, like the world created by Amitabha Buddha, the land of utmost happiness, how wonderful that is. And he described it. He says, this is what's there. This is what's not there. Some worlds, according to our very sutra, the Avatamsaka, are made up of what? Made up of iron and rock and fire. And the sounds in those worlds are the sounds of horrendous suffering and grief and pain. And the beings there only exist to suffer. There's that kind of world too. And there's worlds in between, like ours, which is the Saha world called meant to be endured, must be endured. Kanren Shujie, it's called. So our Saha world is half bliss, half suffering. Good place to cultivate, they say. So, San, Qian, Da, Qian, Shujie. Each word in that title has a number of systems. We call it a threefold, past, present, and future, large, big, medium, small, 1,000-world system, a universe that has 1,000 worlds. Okay, so far so good? Still with me? This description, it's a world system times 1,000, and it's the bigger version of those times past, present, and future. That's a universe. This got away from us. He may continue, let's see here, up to 100 or 1,000, 3,000, let's see, 100 or 1,000, scratch the 3,000. 100 or 1,000, threefold, large, 1,000-world universe. There. We just had one too many 3,000s in there. Okay, what does the Bodhisattva do? Because he has now transformed his consciousness so thoroughly, he can appear with wisdom in front of beings in all those worlds at once and teach them. No way, right? Too big. How is that possible? Right. Well, it only gets better. The sutra is now, we've gone through that crossroads that happened between the 7th and the 8th. Consciousness transformed to wisdom. The Bodhisattva moved into what was called effortless practice, away from effortful practice. And now this is what the mind can do when it's operating in the Dharma at this level. All right? He adapts himself to the differences in their bodies, faith, and understandings, and he appears to be reborn everywhere within those universes, according to what's needed. Not just carelessly, but when needed and just right. Now, what it doesn't say is, then he goes on. He passes away when the job is done. But how about that? Okay. Suppose he is teaching bodhisattvas, then he appears in those bodies. Suppose he's teaching fish, he appears in bodies with fins. Suppose he's teaching birds, he appears in bodies with feathers. Teaching furry beings, possums, foxes, wallabies, wombats. He appears as a wombat to teach the wombats. I saw an echidna in Tasmania. Tasmanian echidnas are different than Australian echidnas. Anybody you've seen an echidna? There are pictures tonight. Echidnas are these, echidna is a Greek word that means monster. And these poor critters, monotremes in Australia, they get the name monster. And they're harmless little monotremes. They're little, they look like hedgehogs. Their bodies are covered with these quills. They're not like porcupine quills. They don't shoot out at you and you can't, but they're kind of like fingernail quills. And when anything troubles an echidna, he just rolls up. You know, and nobody can eat him because he's like, you can't digest all those quills. And when you let him go, he's got this long snout, and he loves ants. His tongue goes out and into hollow logs and pulls all the ants back. And they're really cuddly, you know. There's at the Currumbin Wildlife Sanctuary they have these very personable echidnas, and the trainer comes out and hands them to you, and you get to hold this echidna, and he's all tickly. And Oh my goodness. They're quite wonderful. And I saw one from Tasmania today, and they don't have the quills, they have fur. They're furry echidnas. And echidnas live all over Queensland. You can have them in your garden and not even see them because they're so, like, unprepossessing. You see them when they cross the road, kind of. Oh, look, there's an echidna. Otherwise, they're just minding their own business, eating ants and curling up. Amazing critters. So the Bodhisattva can appear as an echidna to teach monotremes. Gadzooks. One of our distinguished qualities of where I live in Australia is the presence of platypuses. Duck-billed platypuses? Ring any bells for anybody? When I was a kid, duck-billed platypuses were the strangest of strange. They were the most bizarre critters imaginable. And they're furry, how do you describe a platypus? They're egg-laying, what are they? I'd have to look it up. I grabbed from my phone right now.
There was a Disney show
About a platypus?
yeah, and he really mysterious,
Uh-huh.
also really intelligent. I don't know if it's the characters of the but they kind of look like fat ducks.
They look like fat ducks, but they have beaver bodies but a duck bill, and they live in the water, and they swim, and they have a spur on the back that is their weapon. It's poisonous, and if you get stung by a platypus, you know it. But in the creeks right around my backyard, we have real platypuses alive in the wild. They happen to thrive right where we are. And there's a guy named, a naturalist named David Flay, who bred platypuses in captivity for the very first time back in 1950-something. So that's one of the claims to fame of my neighborhood in Australia, is the presence of platypuses in the wild. And they're, what do we have that are similar? Probably like otters. They're kind of similar to otters in the way that they live, they're amphibious, and they're very cute. Shy. You don't see them unless you sit and watch. So, the Bodhisattva appears in incredible numbers of bodies to teach all these living beings. What do you do with that? You just say, oh yeah? That's fascinating. What do we have? We have hobbies. Maybe you're a boater. Maybe you got a power boat. You like to go out on the lake. You tow your boat out to, what's the local big lake where people go east of here, down past Livermore and Lake, not Tahoe. Tahoe's north. What's the Lake Berryessa, right? Lake Berryessa is a boat lake. Got to be careful in Northern California because your lake might be the water lake that supplies Hetch Hetchy Reservoir. I don't know if you can put your boat in Hetch Hetchy Reservoir, but maybe you're a boater. Maybe you actually get out on the bay with a sailboat. So when you're crewing your sailboat under the Golden Gate Bridge, what kind of body do you have then? You're a mariner. You're a sailor. You have your sailor's body on. Okay? You come back, you dock your boat, you do all the incredible maintenance that it takes to when you go out into salt water. Then you get in your car and you get on the freeway, and what are you? You're a driver. Right? You get out in traffic in the morning, you're a commuter. You have your commuter's body on and all the skills that it takes to keep a car traveling safely at high speed on a freeway. That's a body, right? When you are checking your email, you have your, electronic communication body on. So we think this is so outrageous in the sutra because the Bodhisattva does it in amazing numbers with the purpose being altruistic. One of the main differences is the Bodhisattva is doing it because he wants to wake up. He wants to be a Buddha, she wants to be a Buddha, and they've connected that they can't be a Buddha until everybody else wakes up. So there is a desire at the heart of all of this selfless behavior which is waking up. You could say vows are selfish, but they're big. What do you say? That people often, excuse me, people will say, living beings are numberless, I vow to save them all. Isn't that selfish? Isn't that desire? Bodhisattva's got desire. Well, yeah, but it's a relatively unselfish. I mean, if you want to stretch the point, yes. But compared to the Bodhisattva who says, I want to give tax dollars to rich people, that's unselfish, isn't it? Especially when you take it from Medicare. Oh, no, we're not going to touch Medicare. Just wait. Not going to go there. Not going to continue. Sorry. But, yes, vows are relatively unselfish. So the Bodhisattva says, I want to become a Buddha, but the way he does it is to wake others up first. Kind of like a doctor. Is a doctor unselfish when he says, I want everybody to be healthy? I suppose. Press the point, right? So this Bodhisattva wants everybody to wake up. A mother who wants her baby to stop crying, that's a desire. But who can hear a crying child and not want to relieve it, right? So, okay, this is our Bodhisattva who investigates bodies. Yes, Lakshmi.
Shifu, at the beginning, can you hear me?
Go.
So at the beginning you said, Jesus might be like an 8th level Bodhisattva. He's very unselfish. There is a story that Jesus came down to Tibet to learn Tibetan Buddhism, and he learned from the Buddhist masters. But when we read the Bible, the Abrahamic religion is so different from Hinduism or Buddhism. So what's your thought on that, Shifu?
About Jesus in Tibet.
Jesus learning Buddhism.
Okay.
I mean, imagining Jesus as a Bodhisattva is difficult from my mind.
Yeah. Okay, good. So I'm the right person to ask that question to. I'm glad you asked that question. I happen to be ready to answer that question. At the Graduate Theological Union Library, down in the basement, there's a shelf called the Gee Whiz Theology Shelf. And we had a little experiment. We had actually had a bet going among the faculty, because we would there's some study carrels along the wall next to the Gee Whiz Theology Shelf. What books are in the Gee Whiz Theology Shelf? There's a dozen books that talk about Jesus' how many years was he away?
12 years.
12 years that are not accounted for in Jesus' biography. Jesus of Nazareth, right? The Jesus of Nazareth. And so what we did was we sat in the carrels and did our studying down there, a little desk by the wall, and kind of kept an eye on the shelf, those books, right? And we would see the seminarians from all the different seminaries. The Catholics would come, the Jesuits would come down, the Franciscans would come down, the Jewish scholars would come down. Not very many Buddhists, interestingly enough, would come down and they would go like this. They would go, pull out a book and go, gee whiz. Studying the taboo theories that Jesus was a closet Buddhist, right? And why is it called gee whiz theology? It's because you can't prove it. Can't prove it. But you will sure sell a lot of books if you come up with an outrageous theory that Jesus, during those 12 years where he was unknown, actually physically took his body to India, they say. Tibet, her question was Tibet. Some of the theories are pretty astonishing. They have found villages in India where they have got stones with inscriptions that say this is where Jesus came and had children and studied meditation, and they did everything except carbon date and DNA copy, DNA research. If they could come up with, some DNA that of 145th generation descendants of Jesus, it would be yet one more book. So these seminarians read it, and then, you can see their eyes bug out. Wow, could this be true? And there's proof, and there's, relics that they find, and all these different theories. And then they put the book back, and they straighten their robes and go back off to be, proper seminarians, having absorbed this gee whiz kind of theory. So you can hear in my answer that it's fun to speculate on. It's the kind of thing you talk about late at night over a 6-pack of beer with your dorm buddies. Yeah, man, I was reading that Jesus actually went to India to learn meditation, man. Jesus is a Buddhist. Oh, yeah? No way, yeah. And, you're never going to prove it. So it's gee whiz theology. Maybe so, maybe not. It certainly makes the Christians unhappy to have the Buddhists hijack their saint, right? So it's bad form for the Buddhists to maintain that in fact Jesus was a closet Buddhist. Nam. Can we shoot that microphone over to Nam here? If you have a rebuttal, you can, get it back. But
I'd like to add to what you just said is that...
Turn on.
I would like to add to that, what you just said is that Jesus Christ is also dark complexions.
Is also
dark complexions. He doesn't look
dark
white and like Caucasian, like European, because he from Middle East.
Yeah. Yeah, good. All right. So Nam's point was that our picture of Jesus may be inaccurate. Lakshmi, did you want to come back add a comment?
No, Shifu, I'm good, thank you.
Turn that on, please. It got turned off.
No, Shifu, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, great. So when I was in Sunday school in Toledo, it was the familiar picture of Jesus. He had flowing hair. He looked like a movie star. He could have been a surfer. He could have stepped right into a 60s surf band. And I think every culture reinvents him to suit. I've seen African American Jesuses who look very saintly. And I've seen Hispanic Jesuses who are inspiring, I haven't seen Jesus as a woman. Now that would be bending the story a bit if we changed his gender. But who is Jesus the Christ? Not Jesus Christ, Jesus the Christ. Christ is like Buddha, it's a title, right? The Savior, the Messiah who has come to take us, depending on how you read the story, either to die for our sakes or to take us to point us, to teach by example that our proper destination is at the right hand of God, because after 3 days of dying, he ascended to heaven. So that's a great story. If your life is miserable, you want relief, have someone show you how. Well, he did. That's how the story goes. It's the dominant salvation story on the planet right now. And it works for so many people. Okay, now, in telling the story of his life, there's a gap of 12 years. We don't know where he went. Okay, before he was crucified. There is speculation that he went out of Nazareth, out of Palestine, north and west, or east, I guess, to, because if you think about the map, if we had a map I could show you, it's not all that far to territory where Buddhism flourished. Tibet, I don't think he went to Tibet. He would have been traveling too long to get there and back. Kashmir? Afghanistan. Much more likely to Afghanistan. Afghanistan was Buddhist territory. Look at Bamiyan. Yes, please. Miko.
There's a BBC documentary titled Jesus Was a Buddhist Monk.
Jesus was a Buddhist monk.
It's very interesting. And I was thinking at the time, the beginning of the Common Era,
Yes.
Mahayana movement was really, I guess, starting, and it spread all over the Central
did.
Asia. It's not totally impossible that Jesus had some contact with that Mahayana type thoughts.
Yeah.
And it's very similar in a way. So it's kind of interesting over the beer.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry. The last thing you said was it's not.
It's very interesting over a beer.
It is, they call it suggestive, right? It's like, it moves your mind to think, now let me refresh what I know about the New Testament to see if there are any Buddhist elements there, right? You want to look again at what Jesus taught. And here's some things that are safe to say, and some things that are politically inappropriate and insensitive to say. If you say Jesus was a bodhisattva, how do you know? Do you know what a bodhisattva looks like, acts like? Well, closer, because we're looking at the classic description of what a bodhisattva does. Okay, so we could say we're informed about bodhisattvas. To say Jesus was a bodhisattva means you know that, and it's not appropriate to say that. What you can say is, in the life of Jesus, we see all kinds of behavior that is bodhisattva-like. He's unselfish. He's helped the poorest of people. And he even gave up his life on the cross willingly to, as the story goes, to save us from our sins, to wash our sins clean. That's bodhisattva-like behavior, self-sacrifice. He took the short end of the stick in order to benefit others. Right on, bodhisattva-like. To say Jesus is a bodhisattva, are the Catholics going to agree? Excuse me, no, he was not a bodhisattva. He was a saint. He's a Messiah. He's the Christ. Don't give me that bodhisattva language. They don't want us to say that. Okay, so that's kind of insensitive. What you can say is, yes, if you look at in big strokes, you don't have to go in and argue theological details. In the big strokes, Jesus behaved very unselfishly. You know, how wonderful. Now, if we want to pursue it and say, let's look at the time. The early years of the Common Era, the Mahayana tradition spread wide. Where was the Mahayana influential? Iran, Persia. There's there's many famous Buddhist monks who have the surname An Shi Gao, and others, who were major translators of Buddhist texts, who all came from Persia. Right? There are lots of them. So Persia, Iran, Fertile Crescent, Mesopotamia. What about Iraq? A little further. Let's go north to Afghanistan. Wow, Bamiyan, these giant Buddha images that the Taliban shelled and destroyed that have now been recreated virtually recently. Interestingly, if you follow that story. So, Afghanistan was powerful, Mahayana. What about Alexander the Great? Right? You look at the conqueror of the world who died at age 23 or something like that. Alexander the Great. Profound conversations with real Buddhist monks. Whether or not it was Jesus in his Buddhist monk's robe, I don't know. But he met King Menander and contributed a text that is in our canon here called The Sayings of King Milinda, translated, which is a Greek king talking in conversation with a Buddhist monk. And profound. So Hellenistic civilization from Greco-Roman sources encountering Hindu/Buddhist/Brahmin civilization. deeply. And we have the textual record of that. So, Jesus, could it have been? Could he have traveled? Yeah, it's very probable. Very possible. Whether it's probable or not is another story. If we co-opt a Christian Messiah into our Buddhist story, we will alienate lots of potential Christian friends, right? Simply by being insensitive to, if someone said, oh yeah, that Guanyin Bodhisattva, nah, Blessed Virgin, dude. Right? Don't give me this Guanyin Bodhisattva stuff. She's just, you Buddhists took the Blessed Virgin. You took Mother Mary and just, gave her 1,000 hands. How would you feel? You go, number one, you could say, you're ignorant. Number two, you could say, hey, you can't do that. Be upset. So why fight when it's the point is what? Goodness. The point is goodness. It doesn't have to be ours or yours, first or last. Who owns that? What I say when people ask me, and I've shown you this slideshow of what's called the many faces of compassion, that somehow East and West, when human beings want to make a picture of compassion as we experience it in the heart, it looks like that. Back in the altar, we have Guanyin Bodhisattva in counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 9 or 10 different versions on one altar in the back. If our camera turned around, it could see it, but don't do it because you'll lose focus coming back, right? So that's the way we want to see compassion. Guanyin, the Holy Blessed Virgin. We don't have an icon. We don't have a Mother Mary icon. We should probably get one for our Guanyin altar because we have 1,000 hand, we have the Vietnamese white porcelain, white marble. We've got Guanyin as a Chinese opera puppet. We've got Guanyin expressed on a clamshell. We have Guanyin in a two-dimensional image. We don't have a Orthodox Catholic icon yet. What's that? Long Beach. If you go, we've fought that battle. that one, we talked about that. And if you go to Ocean Boulevard down in Long Beach, it was a Carmelite convent with a Blessed Virgin, Mother Mary, on a clamshell. And it was the neighborhood icon. People came and prayed and had miracles associated with that image. And when we bought that Carmelite monastery and turned it into gold, Long Beach Monastery, the local Catholics were just in tears. Oh no! Oh, they're going to destroy our image. Take it away. How can we function without our image? And we looked at that image and said, excuse me, that's Guanyin Bodhisattva, and we cherish it. We're going to enhance it, keep it clean, and invite people to come. And it doesn't matter how you pray, as long as you pray. And then put it into practice. And the Catholics went, we kind of like these Buddhists. At least we like the way they think, And should we poke up the embers of the fight or just let it go? Maybe there was, let's let it go. Let that fight go. There was a story that followed it when our nuns, I'll let it go. So, the people who see it clearly all agree. And that includes the local archdiocese. The Roman Catholics say, yeah, we apologize for these renegade types who just want to cause trouble. So in the name of Catholicism, they don't represent us. So anyway, so you just focus on the positive, keep your eyes on the prize, and let the other ignorant people wake up slowly. So anyway, yes, when the human mind, when the human heart wants to see great compassion, that's how it looks. No matter whether it's Guanyin or the Blessed Virgin, the HBV they call her, the Holy Blessed Virgin, right? If you don't believe me, go to Montserrat, Benedictine monastery above Barcelona. in Catalonia and look at the Black Madonna that the King of Spain emptied his treasury to gild. She is spectacularly compassionate, and she looks just like Guanyin. And when you bow, you feel like you're in the Avatamsaka realm. There's an inner chamber. If you keep on going past the Black Madonna, through a hallway and into the back room, there's a small council room where the monks meet. Every inch has a reflecting mirror or glass or a porcelain icon from the ceiling to the walls to the floor, and it interreflects, and it looks like Vairochana's tower. It's just spectacular. That's the best room I've ever seen for giving you the experience of Yuan Yong Wu Ai, interpenetrating without obstruction. It's the Avatamsaka room embodied, and they don't know it. They think it's a Catholic monastery, but I went there, and I know for sure it's actually an Avatamsaka room, all right? Wrong. Don't co-opt their architecture. But boy, when I saw that, I thought, somebody here is awake. Somebody has taken the covers off their nature if they can manifest it in this room. It's spectacular. And they have Montserrat has a beautiful art museum too of all of the crown jewels of the emperors of Spain/Catalonia. We're not going to fight that battle, but who have gone through and made that monastery their own. Napoleon burned it down in the 13th century, 14th century, and it was rebuilt again. So, spectacular. Philip. Are we heading to Spain next time? Yeah. That was the Parliament of World's Religions in 2009? No, 2003. 2004. That took us there. And Montserrat, you take a funicular going up, a cable car going up to the top. It used to be a pilgrimage. You had to walk up, and they had donkeys pulling people who could afford the donkey carts up. All the other pilgrims walked. Now they've got a cable car. It goes right up. It is spectacular. And the heart of it is the Black Madonna, this wooden image that people say was carved by, they say, John the Baptist, which does damage to your historical sense. But okay, so let me. We've covered 3 large paragraphs, and we have one more page that we're going to have to expand to continue. Let's do one more paragraph, just 3 more lines. Here we go. 此菩萨成就如是智慧故，与依佛刹其身不动，乃至不可说佛刹众会中悉现其身。Because the Bodhisattva accomplishes wisdom such as this, his body, within a single Buddha land, rests unmoving, yet he makes his body appear within inexpressibly many Buddha's lands assemblies. Okay, another Avatamsaka state where sitting, it says, what does it say? Yu yi fo cha. The Buddha is teaching, surrounded by his disciples and all the gods and the dragons and the eightfold spiritual pantheon, sitting there teaching, and yet, because of his ability now, just without moving a thought, he can appear in countless numbers of assemblies at once. Right? He doesn't move, but his body appears. That's another level of function. Amazing. Okay. So, the question is, the power of confusion regarding bodies. Boy, oh boy. Where the sutra paints this picture of our nature awakened, functioning to just create all these bodies that kind of like stars in the sky, that many. And what does that entail? That entails dying and coming back, dying and coming back. The body appears and it goes away. Where does it go? Poof? I don't know. This is it. Our understanding of this breaks down. It becomes miraculous. They say buka sui, inconceivable. When you actually want to know, where do the bodies go? Pop, poof, puff. What happens to these bodies? As he teaches in all these different forms, and yet that's on face value, that's what the sutra is telling us. So this entails lots of dying. I have a song, not mine, but a song I want to share because it's based on a Buddhist reality teaching called the Contemplation of Impurity. Oh boy. One of our nuns, Bhikshuni Heng Sure, who is named Lonnie Bauer. I don't know if she's got her, I don't think Lonnie's picture's in here. This is her songbook. She's got pictures of Master Hua, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And this song was written, this is back in 1979, when we were still the Sino-American Buddhist Association, Zhongmei Fojiao Zonghui. We hadn't become the Dharma Realm Buddhist Association yet. So where were you in 1979? I was bowing. The then Bhikshuni Heng Sure, now Lonnie Bauer, wrote some super Buddhist songs, just super songs. This song that she wrote made it onto the top 40 in the Bay Area. It was released as a pop song, and Dirk Richardson, the Chronicle's distinguished writer of music, actually wrote a review of this album called Songs for Awakening. And this song, because it's so outrageously funny, and the way it was recorded masterfully, with a chorus of people, including Terry Nicholson, is singing on the chorus of the single release called My Body. Bhikshuni Heng Sure, not the current Bhikshuni Heng Sure, but the previous Bhikshuni Heng Sure, saw the contemplations of impurity and wrote the song based on that. What are the contemplations of impurity? It's the 9 stages of a decaying corpse. Oh, it's what we'd call gross. Yuck. And what is it? It's the truth of this thing that we attach to because it holds our life and our story and our experience. My story of who I think I am is entirely connected to this body. Marty Verhoeven today is 71 years old. Bless his heart, right? May he long live Marty, right? Today's his birthday. My birthday was back on Halloween. I was 68. So that's my story is connected to that many years circling the planet. All right? One 365-day cycle is another year of life. Does my story end with that body? Question. Some would say yes, some would say no. But the body itself as an object is the focus of one way of cultivation. And it's not the way people often, including monks, some monks assume it is. There's a wonderful book on cultivation called the Visuddhimagga, the Path of Purification, Qingjing Dao, that describes the way the Buddha gave the 9-fold decaying corpse contemplation. And it's taught very gently that should you, as a monastic, not as a layperson, certainly not as a young married couple starting out on your new life happily, that's not the time you want to contemplate impurity of the corpse. But this is monastics who are trying to let go of their attachments to desire and beautiful forms, they say. Should you encounter something dead, like say, a bird or a rabbit or a rat or a fox by the side of the road, you can, with your teacher's approval, select this body as an object of contemplation. And there's a procedure where bit by bit you go look at it as the weeks go by, and you watch it go, it swells up, it breaks open, the pus comes out, the worms come out, it becomes dust and goes back and recycles. And you see a skeleton, and the bones go back to dust. What you learn from that is, it's nothing beautiful. That's the idea. And you do that contemplation very gradually, and as soon as there's aversion, you're done for the day. You go away and come back later. It's not to go, yuck, ooh, ugh, gross. That's not how it's done. That doesn't help your cultivation. That just gives you revulsion, aversion, and that's the same as desire, only the flip side, right? You love it, you hate it. Neither one is the way. It's an contemplation of reality that most people don't want to look at. We hide it in the West, right? So, Bhikshuni Hung Yin, Lonnie Bauer, took that and turned it into a song. It's a wonderful song. So, as we hear about our Bodhisattva tonight with his myriads of bodies appearing as is appropriate, I thought, oh, here's a chance to share this song. Where did it go? And then the chorus goes, my body, ooh, I loved it so, my body, ooh, so cute, so fine, this body of mine. My body was the cutest thing, gave it the best of everything, plenty of fresh air and exercise, vitamins, minerals, and apple pies, plenty of sleep, plenty of friends, rode it around in a Mercedes-Benz. Then it came time to die, and it left and never said goodbye. And when it died, it got so big and green, so many worms you've never seen. All my old friends quit the scene, smelled just like an old latrine. Then the birds joined in the feast, they didn't mind the stink the least. Now that's all that's left is bones so bleached, who would have guessed it would happen to me? Now it's ashes to ashes and dust to dust, all because of hate and lust. Sure seems we make a lot of fuss over something that's just blood and pus. And then the chorus and the song go, ooh. Where did it go, my body? Ooh, I loved it so, my body. So cute, so fine, this body of mine. There you go. Top 40, believe it or not. I think it made it to 32 or something like that on the top 40 for a week. So Dirk Richardson made a point of it, interviewed her. So there you go. So very, wonderful, horrible song about the 9 stages of a decaying corpse, right? Got so big and green, so many worms you've never seen. Okay, that's the Avatamsaka for tonight. We'll be continuing. Now, next Saturday, I'm going to be in Minnesota, and Jin Chuan Shi is going to be sitting in this seat, telling you stories and explaining the Dharma for you. He probably won't make you, revulsion towards your stinking body that's nothing but a heap of bones and pus, right? Or he might do that. He might make it. I don't know. So that's a good topic. Yeah. But in any case, what we can do is, as we look in the mirror, or as we sit in front of those pork chops, or prime rib, or ham sandwich, or salmon steaks, go, Now this tastes really good, but if that was my body on the plate, how would I feel? Maybe if I eat a lot of meat, my body will come back on somebody else's plate to pay it back. Can I nourish my body with things that don't run away when I go to pick them? Things that don't have eyes looking back at me with a face? Things that don't have a mom that will sigh and weep when I kill its child? So we can ask ourselves those questions and say, yeah, I do pretty well on plant protein. In fact, my body thrives on plant protein. Plant-based diet is environmentally friendly. Probably the diet for the 21st century is less meat. That we can do. And then we look in the mirror and we don't have as many shadows behind us. Plant-based diet is really delicious and something that we can, let go of that juicy flavor of barbecue. There's, now, investigating that topic, what do you all think about Bill Gates' mock meat? His, what are they called? What's his, the texturized vegetable protein that is, anybody know? Anybody following Bill Gates' investment in TVP, texturized vegetable protein? Anyway, it's he's trying to get, he's making something that is a meat substitute that is supposed to be exactly like meat on the tongue. And of course the Buddhists go, well, that's not the point, is it? To make you think you're eating meat, but you're just not killing? Why don't you let go of that one experience and explore the joys of nourishing your body? Boy, what is spinach in terms of going into the bloodstream? Spinach is about 75% water-soluble protein. The other 25% is fiber, which you need, chlorophyll, stuff like that, right? What is pork in the same criteria? Pork is about 15% water-soluble protein, and the other 85% is cholesterol and fat and gristle and things your body only stores up and clogs your veins with. True. So which is the better fuel, spinach or pork? Spinach, when they do those autopsies after heart attacks, it's almost always says on the examining doctor, the coroner, has to write down cause of death, and they say mostly blocked arteries, right? They almost, so that's, animal, indigestible cholesterol and fat. Very, very rarely, if ever, do they write down on the cause of death broccoli and tofu. They just don't, because we just use that stuff as fuel. So anyway, you all get the point. Can we transfer the merit? I thought I was inspired by the talk about bodies. I wanted to share some of my images from another kind of bodies. Let's see. I'll just surprise you. And dedication of merit is on the back of your Dharma request. If you have a songbook in front of you, it's on the last page of your songbook. This is a interactive practice where you make a wish. Say all the goodness that comes from investigating these truths of bodies, the gross and ugly ones, and the magical, inconceivable functions that our bodies can take. All of that goodness can be shared with our thoughts. There's something inside or behind or underneath those bodies, which is the nature that doesn't come and go. That's what we transfer from. So let's do it. Make your wish. our minds as one and radiant with light. Share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Okay. How about that for a guitar that's made of carbon fiber? That was not a tree ever. We're going to turn the projector on, bring the screen down, and investigate some images. Jerry, can we resize the screen? I'm going to have to, when it grabbed the, this is way too big, and I'm going to have to, every slide is going to have to, here. There we go. Okay. Back. All right. Yes. Okay. Okay. Who are we going to look at? Bodies. Living beings' bodies. These are my friends from Australia. I just wanted to show, I was looking at these slides today and thought, my goodness, these are outstanding images for somebody from Toledo, Ohio, to find himself surrounded by animals my imagination never could conceive of was joyful. So I wanted to share these with everybody. These pictures were taken within a quarter mile of where I live in Australia, in the Gold Coast, in the southeastern corner of Queensland, about 90 miles south of Brisbane, if you can imagine. This is called a barking owl. Check out those eyes. There he is, an apex predator with a mouth full of frozen mouse, a mouse full of frozen mouth, A mouthful of frozen mouse. That's his prize, is that mouse. Here he is with the tail dangling out of a mouse he's just been given. There's the mouse. Yeah, who is he going to come back as a mouse in a future life, and the mouse will become the predator? Who knows? Bodies. Gary Snyder, the poet, said, when you become a Buddha, you are in your last, you're no longer in an edible body. Right? A Vajra indestructible body, said Gary Snyder. These are the students I was telling you about, who are told education is for the purpose of earning a paycheck, not for understanding your life and the world around you. Bodies. Who dat? That's a common bearded dragon. Here he is. Boop. You could walk right by him and miss him. Ooh, who died on the log? Family, husband and wife. What are you laughing at? Can't you tell? No, don't ask me who is who. Then we'll laugh. Not the brightest bulb, but sincere. Good bird. Doing all the things that birds should do. Notice cracker crumbs. Kuro Wong want a cracker? I feed him saltines without the salt. There he is. Cracker crumbs on his beak. This is a mom. She's got eggs inside. She's about to give birth. Flies a little more slowly. And boy, once those eggs come out, no birds get close. She and her husband rule the roost. This is the dad. Once those eggs are born, until the kids fly away, they rule the airspace. A little suspicious. You can see the thoughts move one at a time in these birds' brains. Oh my goodness. What's there? Find the lizard. Oh, big lizard. That's a decoration on our big sensor. Don't step on me. Frangipani. Okay, this is a bird called a tawny frogmouth. Find a bird. Their basic weapon is camouflage. They hide. Their feathers look just like this tea tree. This is a tea tree, TEA tree, where tea tree oil comes from. Okay, 3 birds in this picture. 1, right? 2, and 3. Right there. See him? Right there. This is hard because he got his head down. And this one. Sleeping. Yu Ho Chun Sun. Guan Yin Po Sa. Talk about bodies. This is a neighbor, since gone off to the horse's pure land. A one-eyed horse. That's the good eye. This koala's name is Morton. Oh. Yeah. Oh. in my bedroom. Ah! These spiders are so big, they have personalities. 8 eyes. The others are here, on top and there. And they are obviously calculating things. They, check out, you can see, faces, and they respond to your thoughts and stuff. They're totally at home in this environment. They are completely in their habitat. They're called huntsmen. They're not web spiders. They're wandering spiders. And they are fast on their feet. Oh my. Where's the bird? This is called an ibis. Telephoto lens. Oh. Oh. Look at the baby. Good day, mate. Sun worshipper. They spend 18 hours of their day asleep because the one leaves, they like one kind of eucalyptus, and it has such low food value that they sleep in order to conserve their energy, because they're just, the food that they choose is just so low nutrient. Strange. Hot day, breathe, a beak-breathing kookaburra. Here's my friend, Ali the bird. Really. I mean, he's not hostile, Some birds, you see the raptor, you look at them and their eyes are merciless. This bird is completely humane, He's a good dad. He's a loyal mate to his spouse. Friend to me. Notice the mud on his beak. He's been pursuing worms. Hot day, they're breathing through their beaks again. We've got a lotus pond with Guan Yin standing over it. So here's a body. How do you cultivate a body that can sit still and not move for hours and hours? 49 days it took for the Buddha to wake up, sitting still. Feathered body. Muddy beak body. He's got his eye coverings working. Feeding his son. Here's the dad holding a piece of ham out to his kid, about to transfer it. The kid has got it. Two kookaburras, a third kookaburra. Here's husband and wife and the kid. Here they are in color. Oh, notice he's got his eye coverings up. When when they go to use their beaks, they cover their eyes with this membrane to protect them in case the kid misses or something. There they are. Bodies. Check out her eyes. This is a nocturnal critter, and her eyes are totally convex. She can see all around because her only, notice she does have claws, but those are mostly for going straight up the tree or the wall. Otherwise, these guys don't have much defense. Just being able to see danger and split. Okay, find the critter. That's his world. This is called an eastern water dragon. He looks a lot like the branch here. Human bodies. Here's Heng Sure. This is Jin Fu. She's the nun in charge right now. Heng Sure. Good eye. This is a kangaroo, not a wallaby. Check the strength of that tail and the relative weakness of the arms. Hanging out with his mates. Oh, I beg your pardon. You talking to me? Who you talking to? Notice the camouflage. Two of them. One here, one here. Look at those eyes. You disturb my nap. They're nocturnal, so they sleep during the day, and they just find a tree that looks just like them and hide. Look at this one. Tawny frogmouse. They eat insects. They eat thousands of mosquitoes per night. They're called owl-like birds. They're not owls. There he is. We walked right by him for a couple of days before we recognized that was a bird. Tiny body, big noise. Oh, here's a body only a mother could love. It's called a brush turkey, and they have been in this form since the dinosaurs. Notice the feet. Anybody remember Jurassic Park? These are velociraptors with feathers. Notice the tail is vertical. They are completely at home in this habitat. They are totally acclimatized to the gum tree forest that they live in. That's why they have survived all these thousands and millions of years since the dinosaurs. Here's the city of Gold Coast and the local beaches. They say the world's best surfing. Wasp nest. Oh. We're almost done here. Water dragon. Check out these feet. Kookaburras love eating these guys. Shui long, Dongfang shui long. Kookaburra in the rain, unhappy. And big-bodied creatures right off the coast. 200 yards off the beach. There they are. Thank you for indulging me. It was just hearing about the Bodhisattva and bodies that made me want to get reacquainted with those friends that I am privileged to live among and learn from. So, okay, we'll turn the projector off, turn the lights on, bring the screen up. So, did everybody pick up on tonight's flowers? Whoa. Amazing. Pretty spectacular flower arranging. Okay, we have a special event tomorrow that shall not be named, so in case we'll tell you about it later. It's by invitation only. So. Other than that, next Sunday will be Walking Buddha Recitation. That event that people like to come. You start at 7:30 and you go until 4:30, including lunch, reciting the Buddha's name and walking. It's a wonderful immersion in the name of Amitabha. So that's coming Sunday. I'm going to be in Iowa starting Monday night, and then Des Moines, and then off to Minneapolis and St. Paul, Twin Cities, and then back following Monday. And so I'll see you all the Saturday following. Jin Chuanshi and Jin Wei-shi will be holding the fort while I'm away. So everything here should proceed as normal, as always. Appreciate the lovely Christmas tree. What happened to our Buddha Buddha ornament on top? Did that go off to rebirth? I don't know. Maybe so. Huh? It entered nirvana. It left us living beings behind. Yeah, so could be. 不知道它跑哪里啊？不晓得 huh? Okay, but it's a lovely tree indeed. What other announcements do we have?
So we have Buddhism for Modern Mind tomorrow evening, or no, Monday evening. Tuesday, the Giri monks will be coming for the regular Dharma and tea and Dharma talk. Wednesday, I have Stephen Tainer's class. Thursday, the East Bay Insight Meditation Group. Friday, Professor Verhoeven will be giving his last talk for the semester on the 6th Patriarch Sutra. And on Saturday, we'll have the Sutra lecture here, or the talk in the evening as usual. Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, Monday we have yoga and Qigong on Monday evening.
Amelia, Professor Barili will be here teaching yoga and Qigong. Those classes are going as always? For the semester to pick up again in Last Monday of January. So last yoga and qigong class. Come and check it out, and then make an appointment for the next time when they begin, which will be the last Monday in January. So Amelia has been teaching this class for how many? Offering this class? 10 or 15 years. Yeah, we lose track. Yeah. Terrific. That's one of the riches. And you remember Professor Rao? Yeah. That was our first yoga class back in 1996 or 97, I think. And you were here had come back from Benares Hindu University. Is that right? Mm-hmm.
We studied in the same school that trained yoga teachers to teach yoga in India. And so when he came and was here, and we met again after many years, I was demonstrating some of the what he was teaching. Yeah,
I see.
But we both have the same teachers.
Yeah, the same
India.
teachers. So he was essentially a colleague. And that was great. Yeah, good. Professor Rao was teaching yoga here, and that gave us a good start. And then Amelia has been carrying it forward.
So it's not just the asanas, but mainly the contemplative practices like meditation and pranayama and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then adding qigong to it as well.
Right, also the contemplative practices. So it's not so much about the movements, although there are some movements, but it's all about how to have practices that you can integrate in your daily life for more peace.
Great, both the inner and outer side of teachings of yoga, and how to wake up, essentially. Good. All right, it's 9:30, and we'll take a break tonight and continue our investigation of the eighth stage Bodhisattva and the incredible, inconceivable things he can do with his body, which is a promise for us when we get that level of precepts, concentration, and wisdom. So if it's the path, advance, and if it's not, retreat. 识道之进，非道在退。阿弥陀佛。Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo Tafang Guang Fu Huayan Ji Huayan Hai Bo Pu San